Hello, everybody. Welcome along to SportsBet TV with me, Paul Alster, as I look forward to one of the biggest racing days of the whole year. It's Grand National Day at Aintree on Saturday, the Randox Grand National, due off at 4 o'clock in Britain. They're suggesting the going is going to be good to soft, good in places. Remember, it's very sunny at Aintree and there's a drying breeze, so the ground can very easily be good for the 34 runners that are going to face those 30 fences. Now, if you're new to this channel, please press the subscribe button just below this screen. If you're interested in more selections for Grand National Day and also for Sunday and going on into the flat season and to the end of the jump season, then at my Out in Front service, you can sign up via the link in the description box just below this screen. I'm concentrating, though, solely on the Grand National for Saturday because that's the race everybody's interested in. It is the world's greatest steeplechase, they say, but of course it's a very different race to the one most of us grew up watching and were thrilled by. The number of runners has been reduced, and those famous fearsome fences such as Beecher's Brook, the Chair, and the Canal Turn have been downsized over the years even more than a Snickers bar, or to older viewers, a marathon bar. I'm sure that everybody's got opinions about whether or not the race is better or worse for the many changes made. In particular, lots of changes over the last decade or so, but it is still a great televisual spectacle, and it's sure to provide us with another great Aintree story on what is the shop window of the racing industry. Now, although there has been a flood of money for him in recent days, I can't see last year's winner and the current favourite Iron Maximus, trained by the remarkable Willie Mullins, following up under top weight after two moderate efforts so far this season. But given his genius trainer, I suppose it might be folly to rule out last year's impressive winner suddenly recapturing his form back at Aintree. Now, Willie Mullins, the champion trainer, has other decent chances too. They include Grange Clare West, Minella Kakuna, last year's seventh Meeting of the Waters, Nick Rocket, who might need it softer, and Appreciate It. Another Irish trainer who's been doing terrifically well this season is Gavin Cromwell. He runs three in the race, and each of the trio, I think, has a good chance. Most notably Stump Town, who I thought was tremendously impressive when he stayed on very powerfully up the Cheltenham Hill to win the cross-country chase at the festival just over 3 weeks ago. He looks as though he is still on an upward curve. But the question is, will he be as effective on the fast-drying ground? He's joined by his stable companion, a grey, an old favourite, Vanillier, who was third in that same Cheltenham race and was, of course, runner-up in the 2023 Grand National to Corach Rambler. And Gavin Cromwell also runs an up-and-coming, talented staying handicap chaser, Percival Le Gallois, who tackles a new trip. He's only been up to 3 miles so far, but he's been in great form with two recent impressive wins at Leopardstown during the winter, and he has solid credentials if he stays. Now, one of the big stories is Shark Hanlon, who returns from a suspension. He would be a very popular winner of the race, and his pony-sized horse, Hewick, who cost him just £800 and is a rags to riches gelding. This is the one some of you may remember his trainer took to the pub in his local village in Ireland after he won the 2023 King George VI chase at Kempton. Well, Hewick has a real chance. He stays, he usually jumps very well, and he really does handle decent ground. So with a clear round, if he takes to the fences, he could very easily run into a place. If I was to back one of the shorter price runners to the top of the market, which I'm not going to do, Hewick would be my choice at around the 12 to 1, but I'm not getting involved at the head of the market. Iroko is trained by Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero. He's the shortest priced British trained runner. He was runner-up in a Grade 1 novice event at Aintree 12 months ago at this meeting and has been a persistent tip for this race. He's one of a very strong battalion carrying the colours of the legendary Irish gambler and owner J.P. McManus, and they also include the current favourite Iron Maximus, last year's winner. Now, last season's Irish Grand National hero winner is Intense Raffles, trained by Tom Gibney, who's been trained specifically for this race ever since. But the ground might be quicker than ideal for him, and that makes his task particularly hard, I'd say. Last year's third in the Grand National was Minella Indo. Trained by Henry de Bromhead, he remains a class act, despite the advancing years, while the younger lads of Can Kid for Paul Nicholls, Can Kid, the winner of the old Hennessy Gold Cup at Newbury in November, I should say, that may help him run a big race. He's one of the younger classy horses in the race. Beauport for Nigel Twiston Davis, who's won the race before, of course. Well, Beauport carries the colours of the owners of the 1983 winner, trained by Jenny Pittman, Corbière. That would be remarkable if they could win the race 42 years later. And Monbeg Genius for John Joe and AJ O'Neill, the father and son training team. Well, that's another one capable of giving supporters a run for their money. But I've got two selections here, which I've also highlighted at Out in Front, because the Grand National, whilst it's a great race and a great spectacle, for me, it isn't a serious betting race. It's wonderful for the general public to get involved in. And I'm sure quite a lot of you that are looking at this video, this might be the only time you have a bet in the racing year. So I'm going to be splitting my stakes and halving the usual each way bets and backing two in the race. And here they are. Well, my first selection is Brave Man's Game. Brave Man's Train is trained by the multiple champion trainer Paul Nicholls and is the mount of James Reevely. James Reevely, who grew up in the Northeast from a terrific racing family, but is now based in France. He's coming over specifically to ride Brave Man's Game, who, as well as the previously mentioned Can Kid as stable companion, trained by Paul Nicholls. Nicholls also is going to run Hitman, who's part owned by Sir Alex Ferguson, 3 under through 5, and also Stay Away Phase. So Paul Nicholls with a team of 5 runners. However, Brave Man's Game is my choice. He's a multiple Grade 1 winning chaser in his prime, still has plenty of class, and he runs in a handicap for the first time in over 3 years since he won his last handicap at Newbury off 159 in 2022. He's rated 155 for Saturday's big race. Remember, he went on to win a King George VI chase and finish second in a Cheltenham Gold Cup, the best jumps race in the world, among a host of very fine efforts. And while there's no doubt he isn't as good as he once was, he was at a very, very high peak a few years ago. Brave Man's Game may still be good enough to go really well here if he takes to the fences. And I think that at 50 to 1 each way for 6 places with many firms, that looks big for a horse that has been a class act for so long. Remember, he was third on unsuitably soft ground in the Grade 1 Betfair Chase at Haydock as recently as this November. So Brave Man's Game is the first of my two big prize selections for the Grand National on Saturday. The other is even bigger odds, and that is Dufflecoat, trained by Gordon Elliott in Ireland and the mount of Danny Gilligan. Now, this is a horse who I was praying would make and who has sneaked in off bottom weight as the last of the 34 runners to qualify. Gordon Elliott also runs 3-car Bragg, along with the under-the-radar Fil d'Or, Cocoa Beach and Conflated. So although he has a few big price runners, the trainer of the dual winner Tiger Roll and, of course, the 2007 winner Silver Birch has a handful of live outsiders in this year's race. Well, why Dufflecoat? Well, he is 66 to 1 each way for 6 places with Bet365 at the time of this recording. He was 100 to 1 generally earlier in the week. And Dufflecoat really caught my eye at Cheltenham a few weeks ago when he stepped up to a marathon trip for the first time, the 3 3/4 miles of the National Hunt Chase. He'd previously been campaigned at up to 3 miles and had won plenty of races between 2 and 3 miles. He was coming home well at Cheltenham and had moved into fourth off the home turn when he was brought down at the second last in the National Hunt Chase. Otherwise, I think he might have gone close in the race that you may recall was eventually won by the Rebecca Curtis trained Haiti Couleur. Now, Dufflecoat has a bit of class. He was runner-up in last season's ultra-competitive Galway Plate at the Galway Festival. He has to have a sound surface to show his very best form. So the drying ground has come as a real bonus for him. And I think that with a bit of luck this time, he might just outrun his massive odds. And for those of you that like to try and pick them out during the race, he's a light grey carrying blue and white colours, so he should be easy to spot. So those are my two selections. Duffel Coat each way for six places, 66 to 1, and also each way 50 to 1 Brave Man's Game for the Grand National. Whatever you're backing, I hope you have a bit of a run for your money. And the most important thing of all, let's keep fingers crossed that all the horses and all the jockeys come home safely. And let's look forward to a terrific race for this year's Grand National at Aintree on Saturday. That's it for this week's bulletin. I'll be back at the same time next week. Bye bye for now.